Alright, everyone. Welcome back to Suzerain. I'm going to crack a beer open and then we can start bringing our dictatorship into play. Alright, so 7 news. The only way out of the recession, bailing out businesses. Okay, of course, economists would say that. Swordish politicians shot dead. We know about that. Murder was a matter of the past. Unity despite differences. And farewell, Bernard Circus. Okay. Labor union drives further decentralization. Okay. Okay. I think that covers it. We have a lot of reports to go through, actually. Weapons seized in cultural center. Local police forces report that a wardrobe full of heavy military equipment has been seized in a Young Swords cultural center in Yen. Regulators of the place denied having any knowledge about the weapons. The owners of the building have been detained along with 13 other people. The police captured 22 rifles and 2 machine guns. The equipment belonged to the Swordish Armed Forces dated 1929, but kept in very good condition. Narbel has reported that it is currently too understaffed to deal with the ongoing political violence. Due to the small size of the police force in the city, they have been working non-stop, and a number of officers were sent to the hospitals as a result of severe fatigue. Minister of the Interior Lilias Graf has been working with Head of Police Karl Grazer to address the issue. Illegal firearms found in Communist Party office. The Bergen security forces raided the local Communist Party office after alleged attacks organized by one of their members and found illegal firearms in the office. The building has been closed and 22 members of the Communist Party of Swordland have been detained. Young Swords youth wing leader dead after terror attack. Local Young Swords youth wing leader in Suzerain, Ep.04, has claimed responsibility for organized attack in the Bloodish market that resulted in the death of 7. His base operation had been raided and he was found dead inside with 2 bullet wounds to the back of the head. The scene was organized to make it look like a suicide. We were not able to get information about the location of other ringleaders connected to the terrorist attack. At 11:48 a.m., an unattended bug in front of the NFP office in Valgen was destroyed by the police on suspicion of a bomb threat, which were then verified. Upon further investigation, the Communist Party leader of Valgen, Milt Hanner, has been arrested in connection to the incident. Okay, Smalak warns traitors. The latest diplomatic message from the leader of Vechlen warned us regarding a pathway in the mountains of Bergia that allowed traitors of the state escaping to Swordland. President Viktor Smalak has demanded that the border security to be increased. He also sent his best wishes about handling the process in Swordland. Okay, in Houdan Critic Strait, the leader of Agnolia has diplomatically critiqued the imbalance of trade between our countries. Concerns were raised over how much more Swordland profits from the net trade in comparison to Agnolia. Okay. I think... Okay, sold them at maximum capacity, has reached maximum capacity. The dam, a crucial element of the city's infrastructure, has been handling an enormous amount of water inflow recently. With the reservoir at full capacity, the dam's operation efficiency is under scrutiny. Maintenance checks are being conducted to ensure the dam's safety. And we have a police overburdened at Estort. Lack of equipment and staff with the police forces at Estort. With the escalating violence in the city, the officers have been working at 12-hour shifts to suppress the protests to no avail. The police commissioner of Estort has requested reinforcements and extra supplies of tear gas from nearby cities. Now we have reports of BFF activity in the capital. The chief police, Karl Grazer, reports that 2 Bloodish women with affiliations to the Bloodish Freedom Front have been caught in Holsord before they could execute a terror attack at a crowded rally. Both women are listed as wanted criminals and enemies of the state. The arrested women have admitted their intentions to attack the National Front's party rally at Sol Square when Kesaro Kibner gave his speech but rejected any connection to the BFF. Both claim that they were acting alone. Police reports that the situation is under control and further investigations are underway. And that's it. Basically, it seems our whole country is on the brink of going to absolute shit. We have a dinner with family and a security briefing. Let's start with a dinner family, why not? After a long day at the palace, I was finally home. I thanked Serge and walked through the front gates, nodding at the two guards as I went by. Even as I turned to the doorknob, I could hear Dina rushing down the stairs to greet me. I opened the door and there she was, standing in front of me with expectant eyes. Papa, you're home. Okay, lift her and hug her. I lifted Dina up and we hugged her while trying to put the keys in the tray next to the entrance. She was growing fast. Lifting her up was no longer as easy as it once was. Okay. How was school? Boring. I liked my old school better. I put her down and her expression turned serious. Papa, are the bad men gone? It was only one bad man, Dina, and yes, he's gone. Okay, Papa. Dina dashed down the hallway. Mama, Papa is here. Monica appeared next to the kitchen door. She was wearing an apron and holding a spatula in her hand. Nina, what did I tell you? No running in the house. Yes, Mama. Monica approached me and kissed me on the cheek. A tantalizing smell wafted from the kitchen behind her. Darling, you shouldn't have... What do we have a cook for? Felt like going grocery shopping just like old times. And besides, she can't make your favorite like I can. You mean? Yes, zabala. Zabala was one of my hometown specialities, a chickpea stew topped with beef braised in tomato and Belgian spices, traditionally served in a clay pot. Sounds actually super delicious. It was absolutely my favorite dish, especially paired with kebji, a potent unfiltered wine from my region. That is a good meal, goddamn. Hey, it's my lucky day. What's the occasion? No occasion. I just wanted to cheer everyone a bit. Her smile faded as she lowered her voice so that Dina wouldn't hear, especially after what happened at the ball. I am worried, Anton, for you, for the children, and for the country. Dina suddenly appeared next to us. Mama? Yes, sweetheart? I'm hungry. We'll eat in just a minute. Will you help me set the table? Anton, can you tell Frank to come down for dinner? He's been sulking in his room all day. Monica started taking out the plates while I headed upstairs to fetch my son. Loud rock and roll music echoed down the hallway from his room. I caught a faint hint of cigarette smoke. Let's open the door. The door was locked, of course. Frank turned that racket down and opened the door. Stereo in Frank's room clicked off. Alright. He unlocked and opened the door. What do you want? Okay. Turn those records up louder next time, won't you? I don't think the neighbors heard. Haha. Frank headed downstairs to the dining room and I followed after. The table was prepared and Monica was ladling food onto the plates. Come on, have a seat. It won't be as tasty if it's cold. As we started eating, the room went quiet. Monica's cooking was as delicious as ever, but I had the feeling that wasn't the reason nobody spoke. Monica was the first to break the silence. Say, did you know that they refurbished the grocery store? I don't know if you remember the owner. He's been there every day for the past 30 years. Can you imagine doing the same job for so long? What if you were president for 20 years, for example? Why not? We could live like kings. Monica measured me with her eyes for a moment. Anyway, the grocer is really a nice person. He threw in some extra vegetables with my... Frank suddenly slumped his hands on the table, rattling the plates. Monica, Dina, and I stared at him. So this is how it's going to be. We are just going to sit here like nothing happened. Dad, you could have been killed. Mom could have been killed, and any of us could have died. Dina's lower lip started trembling. Monica put her hand on Frank's shoulder. You will not raise your voice to me, young man. Frank, you know I would never let anything happen to you, Tina, even if it cost me my life. I know, but still. Can you at least tell me if something's being done about this? It was real close, Dad. It was a wild rogue shooter, we were not even the target. But what if we were? Frank, listen to your father. If your father says we don't need to worry, then we don't need to worry. We have to trust him. Bodica turned to me. We all have to trust each other. Things calmed down a bit at the table. We finished our food in silence. Frank got up first and retreated back to his room. Monica lifted Dina up and plopped her in front of the living room TV before returning to the table. She sat down across from me. Anton, he is still young. Papa. I know, but there is not much longer we can shield him from the ugliness of the world. He's scared, Anton, and frankly, he isn't the only one. I promise if there truly is any threat to this family, you will be the first to know. She got up, stood behind me, and massaged my shoulders for a moment before leaving me alone in the dining room. I sat alone at the table and drained my glass of cabbage. Had I been lying to Frank and Dina? Was the threat to my family truly over? Time would tell. Okay, way more news. The wrong economy, okay, the planned one. Protests across Swordland. Okay, 1,000 people pour into Republic Avenue in response to the Young Sword attack. Political chaos. Which one is loose? Oh, labor union. Okay, so they call for protests. That's really bad. Young Swords vandalized shops. NFP office burned. Things are going great. We have protests in Gruni. Okay. Unrest in Swordland, of course. Okay, what do we have for reports? CSP faction spotlight workers' right in report. Drawing international attention to the issue of labor conditions, a faction within the Contanan Security Pact has released a report on workers' rights within its member nations. As the CSP, consisting primarily of planned economies, navigates the growing capitalism influence of Arcasia and the ATO, this report highlights the need for labor protections. The document provides a detailed analysis of workers' rights and labor conditions within CSP members, nations spanning the several continents. It stated that these nations exceed global standards with an average minimum wage 45% higher and industrial sector unionization rates at 95%. However, it also addresses issues such as the gender wage gap averaging 12% within the CSP nations. The report advocates for stricter enforcement of labor laws. Morel expresses condolences for Circus. Okay. And that's it. Then we go to the security briefing on the threat against Swordland. I arrived in front of the door leading to the situation room. Today's security briefing was arranged in two parts, starting with internal matters and moving on to external matters after a short break. The Minister of Interior, Lilias Graf, and the Minister of Justice and Law, Nia Morgna, would join us for the first part, the law enforcement briefing. For the second part, the Minister of Defense, Josef Lancea, would join with a few high-ranking officials, including the Chief of the Armed Forces, Valken Kruger. I opened the door. Lucian, Nia, and Lilias rose from their seats. Sir? Alright, let's begin. Everyone in the room sat down except for Lucian. He put on his glasses and went through the documents in front of him. Shortly after, he raised his head to address the attendees. Mr. President, ladies, we will kick off today's meeting with an internal security briefing. I am assuming everyone has already been over the agenda. We all have busy schedules, so without further ado, I will jump into our first topic. As we feared, the political atmosphere has worsened. The reports around the country indicate that tensions are rising as we feared. What is the status of the Bernard Circus investigation? I have received news this morning that the investigation into the murder of Bernard Circus has concluded. Right? That's great news. I'm eager to hear the details. After further investigation and testimonies, we have confirmed the motive and also the events leading up to the shooting. A few days prior, a member of the Red Youth initiated a violent attack on Young Swords' local leader in Jen. We believe that the Young Swords then called for revenge, leading to the death of Mr. Circus. Since he often spoke against the Young Swords and nationalist sentiment in the assembly, he was a big target, not to mention his radical communist views. Okay. Political violence needs to stop, unless it's on my side. I mean, I can do political violence as a great tyrant, but no one other. Yes, we've kept it at bay for long, but it seems that there are now new triggers. Elias handed over the report and pointed to the highlighted section in the document. The investigation revealed a very troubling fact. Funding sources of the Red Youth have a clear link to United Contana. Are you sure? Yes, we have found the cash trail. Several Red Youth members with the ties to United Contana have been detained, and the information extracted from them points to the preparations for communist uprising in Swordland. It isn't unusual for the superpowers to influence other nations, but I think this case is a little far-fetched. The left lacks popular support in Swordland. Nia eagerly lifted her hand. I motioned for her to speak. I went over the report in detail. It would be wrong to jump to conclusions about a clear foreign interference yet. United Contana has a humanitarian and cultural ties with many countries, including Swordland. Okay. I trust Miss Graf judgment. United Contana is clearly trying to expand its influence. Mr. Rain, we have done our due diligence, and the funding, operatives, and strategy all point to a coup plot. Took a sip from a glass of water and continued. Our police chief, Carl Grazer, has linked the funding channel to the United Contana consulate in Benfi. As we all know, the enemies of Swordland are many, but we also have threats inside the country. Okay. As the government, we have all the power to deal with any threat. If we give up essential freedoms to purchase temporary security, we deserve neither freedoms nor security. This is debatable, but yes, we know what more security and surveillance cost to this country under President Sol. Let's not forget that President Sol, God bless him, brought stability after a long period of bloodshed and chaos, but moving on. Our highest internal threat comes from the estimated... I really wish they would add some spacing in between, 20,000 strong, Bloodish Freedom Front led by the imprisoned Devlen Ark. They are a banned political organization, now a militant force that is trying to incite racial violence. Okay. Are they supported by our Bloodish citizen? To some extent. Luckily, they couldn't attract a wide audience of Bloods, but they could potentially attract thousands if anti-Bloodish sentiment spreads in Swordland again. Elias pointed to the page 3 in the report. Our intelligence intercepted 2 crates filled with weapons close to the Rumburg border. They were filled with military-grade Ka-74s. I love that. Instead of AK-47, just like, how about we just flip this? And then, we have a name for a gun. For this game. We expect that there may have been smuggled in. A group of Bloods were caught with these guns at checkpoint not far away. The government of Bergia, Felix Bronn, is already taking the necessary measures to counter the threat. Rumburg has been acting aggressively in the region for a long time. I'm not surprised that they would attempt to weaponize the Bloodish people against us. This is worrying, very worrying. Okay. Let's see. It was expected that Rumburg would undermine us, but this is too far. I agree. The prospect of arming our population against us is a step too far. This is grave news, but we must be careful not to stoke the fires of anti-Bloods sentiment. Unfortunately, Governor Braun is directly causing the tension to increase with his increasingly anti-Bloodish stance. I must remind you, Governor Braun is directly responsible for the arrest of Devlin Ark, the previous leader of the BFF. It's true that his methods can be extreme at times, but it was his policies that kept the region peaceful over the last decade. He's misusing the power given to him by Tarkin Sol. The insane authority of the government is surely a root cause. It would be very difficult to revoke the special status of Bergia under the current circumstances, Miss Morgana. The president no longer have the authority Tarkin Sol enjoyed. For now, yes. But with enough justification for it, it would be possible. Anyway, we will be discussing this at a later time. Okay, tell me more about the special zone. As you know, Bergia was given a special status by Tarkin Sol after the full-scale uprising by the BFF against the Sordish government in 35. Those couple years were disastrous for Bergia. Devlen Arg and the BFF declared war on us, openly attacked our people, and occupied entire cities. It was a massive uprising, but I'd like to point out the longest time they were in control of a city was 2 weeks. I wouldn't call that an occupation. Despite the arrest of Devlin Arg in 44 and the BFF ceasing its activities, the special status of the region were never revoked. Today, the special zone of Bergia gives the governor an insane amount of authority. He was in trouble with the law before for not following the central government's authority. Unfortunately, Bergia also has its own police forces directly commanded by Governor Braun. They are not a part of my ministry and only cooperate when they are forced to do so. This is a problem. Even though our forces have the authority to serve in Bergia, the special zone leaves the security of Bergia mostly in the hands of the governor. That leaves my hands tied. Okay. Okay. We must reverse the situation. It is absurd that the Ministry of Interior doesn't have full control over Bergia's security. I agree. I have some ideas about it already, but we can talk about it another time. Nia gestured to Lilias. What is the second most important threat? It is the gang violence that is threatening the Nargis and Aglan regions. Two prominent organized crime families are at war, and the potential for bloodshed is real. Okay. Why can't we just arrest them? The primary reason is deception and corruption. They infiltrated several government offices and the police. That's how they can evade us. Okay. They're playing with fire. I want them gone for good. While I agree it would make Sorlan a better place, it will not be easy. These gangs exist because the corruption is so common in our country. They buy our local police officers and slip by checkpoints. Lilias Graf sighed deeply. I shall be honest with you. With our current capabilities, we might not be able to prevent the future arming of separatists while maintaining order in Bergia, Nargis, and Agenland. You promised to increase Sorlan's security and law enforcement budget. You must keep this promise. Okay, we will stick to the promise, especially in light of all this information. We will rid our country from separatists and violent thugs if you support us. I wish you would stop using the words thugs, Lilias. The real problem is corruption, which is fueling the gang violence and is very likely the reason why these weapons were smuggled in. Higher budget could help us end it. Okay, your ministry must tackle the issues with persistence, Miss Morgana. Keep saying Morgana because of League of Legends. We are, but it needs all the attention it can get from our administration. Lilias and Nia were openly scowling at each other. Lilias turned back to her notes. Well, this concludes the topic for the internal portion. Thank you for the updates, Miss Graf and Mrs. Graf and Mrs. Morgana. Alright, let's move on. Have a good day. Until next time. The ministers left the room. We took a short break before continuing to the second part. Okay. Upon invitation, Joseph Lancea, along with 3 high-ranking officials from the Ministry of Defense, walked into the room. One of the men was none other than General Kruger, the chief of the armed forces. Joseph made his way towards the table while the others stood by the door. Mr. President. Let's begin. I brought General Kruger with me due to the escalation on our borders. General Kruger stepped forward and saluted. He had a strong jaw with sharp cheekbones. His tall stature, uniform, and medals combined with his deep and intense stare made him look threatening. He was in his 70s, yet he had the bulky body that was a result of his commando training. Not only was he the second most decorated officer in Swordland, he was also the longest serving. Okay, let's salute him. He smiled at the gesture and bowed his head in respect. Joseph tapped his foot impatiently. He seemed uneasy with the presence of another high-ranking officer in the room. Gentlemen, thanks for coming to this significant gathering. Let's begin. Joseph and Vulcan took their seats at the table while the rest of the officers stood by the door. Mr. President, the situation at the western and northern borders towards Rumburg is very tense. We are observing deployments of divisions close to our border. Rumburg has been acting increasingly expansionist in the past decade, and also interfered in Agnolia, but now they have turned their sight on us. Okay. What is your current strategy? Patrolling close to the border with our border force and keeping armed reserve divisions near. It seems like they want to increase the pressure both externally and internally. Mr. President, if I may. Please, General. The picture is becoming clearer. The latest information from the interior about the weapon cache, and now there is an active military buildup close to our borders. The entire situation was analyzed by our general staff, and our prediction is a future territorial incursion by Rumburg. Let them come, we will give them hell. I share your enthusiasm. We draw our strength from the brave sons and daughters of Swordland, but we wouldn't be able to stand against them right now. I require an increase in the military budget to enlist more soldiers. Only then we can stand strong against our enemies. The enlarged armed forces will hold them at bay. Vulcan is right. We do need an increase in the military budget, although we don't see eye to eye on exactly how to spend the budget. That much we agreed on. I have my concerns about Rumburg too. We need strong allies to withstand such a superior power. They are our nemesis. That is an understatement. Times are changing and war is coming, Mr. President. Whether we like it or not, we must be prepared. During the election, you said nothing about focusing on our military. I ask you to reconsider and to increase the military budget. The future and safety of Swordland is in your hands. Okay, maybe you're right. Defense of our nation is more important. I mean, I'm going to increase... It's not more important. I'm going to do it. I'm going to increase the budget if I can to both internal and military, because that's what I need to have proper dictatorship. As you said, times change, Joseph. We will see. A smile brought a glimmer of hope on Joseph's face. Our forces would crumble under a decrease, and Rumburg would be much more compelled to exploit our weakness. Our country hasn't fallen to any invading force for 200 years, so you cannot let it happen, Mr. President. We should find regional allies like Valksland or Lesbia to deter Rumburg. There are several options on the table. Swordland must stand on its own 2 feet to be able to defend itself. Of the same mind, sir. We stand strong as we have always done. Everyone fell silent when a soldier entered the room and let Joseph Lancea know that a call had come through from the ministry. Excuse me, Mr. President. Joseph left the room to answer. A few minutes later, he entered the room again. His expression has changed. Mr. President, there has been Rumburgian military activity close to Narbel border. I just spoke with the local commander. Balkan, we should go to the ministry and get further updates from our branches. Understood. Raising military readiness is the first call of action. If there's truly an extraordinary attempt, we will relay it to you immediately and wait for further orders, Mr. President. Go and show them the might of the Swordish armed forces. We will, you can be sure of that. Hail Swordland. Hail. They saluted and left the room. Rumburg was already testing us, and the reports from the interior indicate interference inside our borders. Communists, nationalists, bloody rebels, Rumburg expansionists. What was next? Swordland had always been a key piece on the chessboard of the global rivalries between Arkesia and United Contana. But in the recent years, there was no such aggression from Rumburg, not at these levels at least. All it takes is one tiny spark to start the flames of war. The phone rang. Rumburg had decided to close their consulate in Lackhaven. Okay, so we have protests inside, we have potential of another kingdom invading. Things are going great. Intercontinental ballistic missiles getting created. Rites of Galkondism in rural areas of Bergia. A guy called this a minor religious branch of Vrukeisnurity has gained a significant following in the city of Suzerain in the rural areas of Bergia, mainly due to a limited access to education and employment opportunities. The sect offers a sense of community, purpose, and salvation through strict adherence to its doctrines. Vladish Freedom Front and foreign proselytizers are suspected to be behind the sudden increase in Golcontism. Many Bloodish political leaders are recruiting members through grassroots campaigns, making Golcontism one of the most popular religious groups in the region. However, officials fear that the sect's strict rules and practices may lead to a social unrest, warranting further investigation and development of strategies in collaboration with local community leaders to address the situation. Okay, Vrukeism. Let's see. Warrior culture, pursuit of physical manifestation of heaven and earth. Liberation from worldly ties. Renounce material possession, refrain from sexual relationships, and engage in rigorous prayer meditation. Okay. So basically like the, super strict religion. Okay. The belief central to Golcontism is that through this austere lifestyle and spiritual discipline, a divine society can be established. Okay. Interesting. Disciples. Viewing love between men as more sacred than the earthly bonds between men. Interesting. So it's like a super strict religion, but they're also to the point where they're like, we are so manly that it's even better to fuck another guy than to have sex with a woman. That that reminds me a lot of the current political or social landscape of the world. Okay. Interesting. What next? United Contana Consulate helped protesters. Around midnight, the Red Youth protesters clashed with young swords at the Vesortsk city center, resulting in many injuries. The counter-protesters were cornered in front of the United Contana Consulate after they were pushed back by the police. The diplomatic mission opened its doors and Red Youth members escaped inside. The police are still waiting outside the building for the return of Red Youth members. Okay, that's it. The National in Revolt, yeah, know about that. Diplomatic pressures. Not news. Underhaul construction once again, number 1. Okay, number 1 company, gang violence, infrastructure project, yes. The real truth. Okay. And rumor closes consulate. Okay. Let's react to unrest. The political situation around the country has escalated. Chief Strategist Lucian Galat has prepared several action plans that we can execute. What will you do? Expand the police by deploying oil recruits. I'm going to visit affected towns in person. Guess it's yeah, talk to protesters. Okay. And end of the day at the Maroon Palace. It was late in the evening. The Maroon Palace was finally getting somewhat quiet when I returned to my office at the top. I eagerly approached my chair and sprawled out on it. It had been an exhausting day, just like every day since I took office. Alright, let's lean back and relax. Also, its skyline was daunting but beautiful. I glanced downwards out of the window and saw Serge and the guards waiting for me by the main gate. I heard a couple of knocks at the door. My secretary Livia Suno entered. Mr. President, Mr. Tusk is here to see you. You had a meeting with the Lothenberg spokesman. I am so sorry for not giving you a proper notice. Okay. Do your job properly next time? Do you expect me to keep track of everything myself? You're right, Mr. President. I probably made a mistake with my notes. It will never happen again. But he's already here, Mr. President. What do you want me to tell him? After a moment, Mr. Tusk swaggered into the room. I had met Sorland's most prominent businessman once or twice, but never alone. He had large jowls, blindingly shiny shoes, and the air of someone who was used to getting his way. Anything to drink, Mr. Tusk? Water, whiskey? Cognac, preferably from before you were born, sweetheart. Oh my god. I will check the supply room. Livia backed out of the room, shooting me an apologetic look as she did so. Walter hung up his head, which I could see was lined with mink, fixed me with a long, hard stare, then broke into a toothy grin. Good evening, Mr. President. I am here to congratulate you. We both sat down. My business partners and I wish you a successful term as a leader of our nation. Get to the point, Mr. Tusk. Why are you really here? I see that you are not very welcoming, President. I merely congratulated you. I see no reason that necessitate rudeness. I didn't believe I'm being rude. Time is money after all, isn't that right? Walter took a conspicuous look at the diamond-encrusted watch on his wrist. Yes, that's true. But at the same time, patience and humility are important virtues for a man in your position. You are the president, after all. May I continue? I nodded. I like to build a profitable relationship between us. That being said, there are some concerns of mine and people I represent, which I would like to take this opportunity to clear up. The people you represent. You know that I represent the Lovberg Group, Mr. President, but of course, these concerns are not limited to them. The ruined state of the economy in Sorland has influenced everyone. The recession hit all of us hard. Walter pulled out a box of cigars from his jacket. I had these brought from Lesbia, the best cigars in the whole continent. Would you like to try one? I'd rather not have you smoke here. Sure, no problem. The assassination and the trouble between the left and right are worrying, but the recession is the root cause of these issues. For us, it is worrying to see that you have decided to promote a planned economy. The recession was triggered by the market reforms of Alfonso, which he couldn't finish due to being heavily obstructed by the establishment. Economics need long-term strategy and mid-term adjustments to provide growth and stability. My father once said, you have to finish what you started. He is right. The system collapsed because Alfonso didn't finish the reforms he started. And look at what happened to him. He leaned forward in his chair. The highway investment was a good call, but high-speed rail would have been even better, especially for business logistics. Our goal was to focus on the needs of the people, not business. I do understand where you're coming from, but the business will help these people get employed. We can be close allies. The group can help you get Swordland out of the recession, which will be the key problem to solve in your term and could even determine your re-election. Let's start with a gesture of goodwill. Soon the investment project contract will be awarded to one of the three main contenders. He pulled a check out of his pocket and slid it towards me on the table. My personal bank details were listed on it, showing a deposit of 500,000 Swedish ren ready to be transferred. This amount was equivalent to 6 months of the presidential budget. If the construction were somehow awarded to the Underhall construction, they would not only work hard and deliver, but also do it on time. What do you think, Mr. Rain? Wouldn't that be good? He put his index finger on the check. There was a noise by the door. Livyasuno was standing there holding a tray with a bottle and 2 glasses. I'm so sorry, Mr. Tusks, but all I could find was 1942 70. I hope that's acceptable. She quickly put the tray on the desk and walked out. Tusk eyed her as she left. Remind me to visit your office more often. Now, where were we? Do we have a deal? Did you just try to bribe the president of Swordland? I refuse. Walter sighed and pulled the check away, putting it in his pocket. Be careful, Tusk, or you will have to make your deals in a prison cell. I think we started off on the wrong foot here. My goal was to begin a mutually beneficial partnership, nothing more, I assure you. Well, I will excuse myself then. Thank you for your time. Have a good evening, President. Walter stood up, grabbed his jacket, and made his way towards the door. Closed the door behind him. I gathered my things and prepared to finally head home. As I walked out, I noticed Lydia still there, covering up her typewriter for the evening. If I may be so bold, Mr. President, did you accept his offer? Of course I didn't. How could you even ask me that? The other girls have told me about all kinds of dealings that went on during the Alfonso administration. I wasn't sure if you were that kind of president. I'm certainly am not. She and I took a moment to look out over the lights of the city before heading to the elevators. Alright, more news. What do we have? Kibbener suggests expanding executive powers. Foreign Gaslam engineers. Reform demands gain popularity. Workers' Party Solidarity March. And Bloody Citizens targeted, okay? And more reports. Local police working with nationalists. One of our agents, acting as a young Swords member, had an encounter with 2 members of the local police force in Andrika, Alson Boller and Vic Nezer. According to the report, the policeman tried to bribe the agent to burn down a store that belonged to a North Communist Party member and to instigate further violence. We have detained the policeman on charges of corruption. The Ministry of Defense reports that the situation along the border is getting tense. Rumored Southern Army was sighted training close to our borders and did not respond after we issued a radio message. The Chief of the Armed Forces, General Kruger, reports to have increased patrolling duties along the northern border to signal readiness. Okay, and that's it. What do we have here? Okay, we have the economic relief plan. What do we have? With the assistance of the National Business Council and the Central Bank, Simon Hall put forward a country-wide relief plan to mitigate the economic hardship that are being felt. We can either provide stimulus checks for people in need, or bail out businesses under serious financial strain, or decide not to approve. Let's give it to people in need. that will hopefully help us with some popularity. Okay. There we go. News. It's going to be about that. Okay.